Hello. Uh, can you see my screen? Hello. Good morning. Hello. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are talking about the thyristor converters. So this is a full bridge converter having 4 thyristors: TH1, TH2, TH3, and TH4. Objective is to do AC to DC conversion. Right? AC voltage is sinusoidal voltage, and AC voltage is a voltage of uh, frequency 50 hertz, that is the utility supply. In India it is 50 hertz, in America it is 60 hertz. In India this voltage is Vm is equal to 220 into root 2. In India it is 200, normally I am talking about 220 into root 2. This is the nominal voltage. Obviously there is some variation, 5 plus minus 5%, but in America it is high 110. I am calling it Vm dash. It is 110 into root 2. That is the peak. So that's why I'm adding this root 2, 110 into root 2. So this is the kind of supply system will be there, and we need to, this is a single phase. So single phase, we need to convert it into rectified voltage. This may be the first stage of rectification that will be required to put a subsequently to put another DC to DC converter. The final DC to DC converter may be maybe 10 volts or 12 volts, but before that you may require one rectifier. It's not a uncontrolled rectifier, it is a controlled rectifier. Controlled in the sense that you can control the voltage, the DC voltage that is available, that would be available at the output of it, of this converter, that is controllable. And subsequently you may put a DC to DC converter for isolation purpose. You can observe that this AC to DC conversion, no isolation is at least shown here, but you can easily see that isolation should not be that much of a problem, because you can put a transformer directly across the AC voltage. Directly, because this is AC, you can put a transformer, conventional transformer, power transformer we call it, which operates at 50 hertz. That kind of transformer you can easily put it. However, as you have understood probably, that this being a 50 hertz transformer, its size will be relatively bigger compared to any high frequency transformer. So the easy solution would be to put a transformer directly across AC, but a better solution will be to put a high frequency transformer, which we may put in the subsequent stage when the output of the thyristorized converter will be further converted to a suitable load voltage. The load voltage may be 12 volt or whatever, 24 volt. In a battery it will be 12 volt or 24 volt or 48 volt, that we can convert along with high frequency isolation. And you have already studied, we have already studied all the high frequency DC to DC conversion. So you are maybe seeing the, we call it front stage, front end converter. Front implies that how utility power is available, because in DC to DC converter you have seen that we have somewhat arbitrarily assumed that the input voltage is something 48 volt or 110 volt or something, whatever we felt like we have assumed that, but we have not described how that voltage would be obtained, because as such no standard DC supply nobody is giving you from the utility. So this must be in the front end, has to be converted from some AC voltage, and the AC voltage that is available is 220 volt. So this can be thought of as a front end converter, which is converting this. And the second application we told you about is a DC machine drive. DC machine is modeled here as an equivalent circuit of R, L, and a battery. The battery is, as I said in the last class, is nothing but a back EMF. this battery, the representation of this DC source VC is the back EMF of the DC machine. You already know that the expression is K into phi into N, where phi is flux, which is maintained constant, and N is the speed. So when it is running at a certain speed, it behaves like a DC battery, DC source. L is the inductance of the armature circuit, and R is the resistance of the armature circuit. So that way it can be modeled. This L is normally the leakage inductance of the armature circuit. So this way it can be, or sometimes we deliberately put a filter inductor. L can be conceptualized as a filter inductor so that the machine sees some current that has less ripple, etc., etc. So you know the rationale for putting any inductor. R is the physical component, either either the armature resistance in case of a DC source, or in some cases VC can be a battery. So when it is a battery, the internal resistance of the battery can be R. Whatever it is, the applications that we just now described, one is the front end of a subsequent DC to DC converter. Second is the speed controls arrangement of a DC machine. In a DC machine, you know, the speed can be controlled by varying the armature voltage that may control the speed of the machine. And the third one you are seeing is that of a battery charger, where VC is a battery and the battery can be charged, and the battery charger application, the load would appear to you as this. So let's see that now the operation part of it. Operation is that the thyristors are switched at the same frequency as the supply frequency. There is not a different frequency. It is switched at same frequency as the source frequency. Source frequency is F, so it will be switched at F, right? And how at this how these thyristors are switched in this specific case? It will be switched at an angle alpha with respect to the zero, the supply voltage 0. So the first TH1 and TH4 thyristors, if we look at it, TH1 and TH4 thyristors will be, let us say, turned on at this instant, and the thyristors that will be conducting is TH1 and TH4. I intended to convert, but I enable them to conduct. But giving pulse and actual conduction, there is a little bit of difference. Giving pulse is making sure that they are eligible to conduct. But does it conduct? As we know that it may or may not conduct fully all the time, because the current ID, that is the DC side current, ID, that is the DC side current, you can see that may be continuous or discontinuous depending upon the load situation. So in the beginning, I am not so sure that when throughout, if it conducts throughout, it implies that it will conduct of Let me start here itself. So we saw that this is TH1, TH1. This is TH3, this is TH2, and this is TH4. So this is the DC side. This is DC and this is ID, and this voltage we call it Vrect, rectified voltage. This voltage we call it AC, and this current is IAC. So what I was telling you is that if I take a sine wave, that is the supply voltage, and give a firing angle alpha, this is the firing angle alpha, of which thyristors, that means at this instant we turn on, at this instant we turn on TH1 and TH4, the diagonal elements, right? We will not turn on TH1 and TH2, and you even cannot, I will show you that TH2 will not be turned on. You cannot, because we have seen that in order to turn on a thyristor, it first, in the off state, first has to be forward biased. Unless it is forward biased and in the off state itself, then otherwise you cannot turn on even if give you a pulse. So TH2 will not be in that state. So it is automatically decided which thyristors can afford to conduct at a certain instant of time. And first let us take a simpler operation. Simpler operation means we assume that thyristor 1 and thyristor, first we assume that this is continuous conduction mode operation, which means the inductor current ID is constant, continuous, which means ID is continuous. So if ID is continuous, this thyristor conducts till, if it is alpha, this is pi plus alpha. This is, I'm describing everything in angle, which is more convenient rather than time. In this case, it is angle is more convenient variable. So this angle was alpha, where thyristor 1 and thyristor 2 will conduct in the continuous conduction mode. This is this voltage is VAC. This is a kind of approximation we are first making, that I am saying that you should not be very sure, but let us say it is in continuous conduction mode. We'll later learn how to make this decision whether it will be CCM or DCM by looking at different circuit things, and we'll be able to make a decision that whether the circuit is in CCM or DCM. But let's see first, assuming that it is in CCM, what really happens is this, right? And then subsequently the thyristors that are fired at this instant are TH3 and TH2. So the second firing is happening at this instant. This instant, the second firing would be happening, and then you are intending that the thyristor 3 and thyristor 2 conducts. So first thing you see that when thyristor 1 and thyristor 4 conducts, let us put it in this color. Thyristor 1, current is going like this, and coming back like this, right? So what is the thing I am seeing? The voltage at that instant when thyristor 1 and thyristor 4 are conducting, V rectified, right, is equal to VAC. That is the voltage you will see when TH1 and TH4 conducts. And you see that it is Kirchhoff's law is saying that IAC is equal to ID, that AC current is equal to this thing. Maybe I should write it this way, or it is better to write it this way. So one is cause. Cause is that you have turned on thyristor 1 and thyristor 4. The effect is that the DC side voltage is now equal to AC voltage, because it is the imposition function. This is what you are forcing function. You are applying this. The moment this thing is there, already maybe some current has already developed in the DC part of the circuit. We are doing steady state analysis. So steady state analysis has to assume that not in the first time, not in this thing. Suppose it has been working for time t tends to infinity. So at that instant, what is happening? So at that instant, we will say that it has developed, it had already developed a current in the DC side ID. That current was developed. Let us assume that. So that current is now gets reflected to the primary side, to the AC side. So this becomes a cause and this becomes an effect. First is this is a cause and this is an effect. Then second is this is a cause and this is an effect. Source side and load side always interact in this manner. Source, if it is deciding the voltage, like VSC is deciding the voltage of the load, the moment it is fired, nobody can change the load voltage. It is already decided by the source voltage and the firing instant. So that has been decided, and the moment that has, but the source current we do not know yet. But the source current, to know it, it gets reflected from the load side to the source side. So this is the interaction that happens. Never the one side decides two parts of the thing, both the parts. It doesn't decide both voltage and current. If it is deciding voltage, then it has to take the current from the other side, and somebody is deciding the current, then it has to take the voltage from the other side. Okay, so this is the way they interact. Therefore, what will happen is that, and I have already said that this process is continuing, and in the first 180 degree, that means during the duration alpha to pi plus alpha, TH1 and TH4 would be conducting. Then in the subsequent pi plus alpha to alpha duration, the fellow who will be conducting is, so that time the thing that will be conducting is, so this time, this duration, the conduction is by TH2 and TH3. So that will be the conduction zone. And what is happening due to this conduction? Due to this negative conduction, this is the second one conduction is TH2 and TH4 conduction, right? So this conduction corresponding to that, what is happening to V rectifier? In Kirchhoff's law, we see that now the current is going what? TH3 has to take the load current. So let's take TH3. TH3 is taking the load current. TH1 and TH4 are off. We will describe how it turns off. But let us say this is off and TH3 and TH2 are on. So the current, load current being inductive in nature, it cannot change. So TH3 has to support the current and it will go like this, and through TH2 it will return back. It will return back. So what we see here is that, first of all, what we see is that VAC polarity, if it is plus minus, now this minus terminal has come here. So we'll say that V rectifier, what we will say, because TH3 is connected through this thing, it is connected to the negative terminal. This is TH3 is now connected to the negative terminal. The polarity has reversed, and I will say that it is minus VAC. That is the rectified voltage. Look, the convention, first you should define all the conventions correctly. Plus minus is the convention of VAC. Plus minus is the convention of V rectifier. And with respect to these two conventions, the consequence of the turn on of TH2 and TH3 in the circuit will appear to you like this, that the rectified voltage is negative of the AC voltage, right? And the second consequence of this is that what about the load current, AC current, IAC. IAC is what? You can see that IAC, the direction of IAC, basic definition of IAC is this, but now the actual current is flowing like this. So with respect to ID, so IAC is equal to minus of ID. right? If ID is positive, ISC will be negative, right? So this one, so therefore let us draw the rectified voltage here below. Rectified voltage, let us draw in black color. Let us draw the rectified voltage due to this firing. What will be the rectified voltage? I have fired at alpha.
Which switches are on?
50% of the time TH1 and TH4 are on, and 50% of the time TH2 and TH3 are on. Is it clear?
Okay. You wrote to TH2 and TH4.
TH2, TH3. Oh. Sorry. TH2 and TH3. This is TH2 and TH3 are on, and then TH1, TH4 are on. So in this zone, the first is that I know that this will be just following this thing. So it will come down to this and even come to negative. Don't worry about that. I'm no way, by no means I'm saying that the instantaneous voltage, this is V rectifier. V rectifier. And by no means I'm saying that V rectifier voltage cannot be negative. It can be negative. Because of the continuity of the current, it will simply follow. As long as the current is conducting continuous, it will simply follow the input voltage. This is the input voltage, and it will simply follow without any issue, right? And then what happens? Then at that instant we have changed the switching sequence, because this is the zone when TH1, TH4 was on, okay, and this is the zone when V rectifier is equal to VAC. Now subsequently we have V rectifier is equal to minus VAC, but VAC is now negative. This is the zone we are talking about. This is now negative, so it will get rectified and it will.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, like how will the V rectifier be negative? Like when it becomes negative, TH1 and TH4 will be reversed by, right? So how will they conduct?
This is what is the nice confusion, but you must understand that let us take what is happening at this instant. Your doubt is at this instant why TH1 and TH4 are conducting, right, and not TH2 or TH3, right? That is the doubt, right, in this zone, right, in this negative portion, why TH1 and TH4 are conducting. Look, thyristor TH1 and TH4, as long as the current is continuous, it doesn't see what is happening at the input side or output side, it will conduct. That is what the thyristor's property is. So in the analysis, first point is that TH1 and TH4 will conduct as long as there is a current, and the current is there. The current in the ID is continuous. So, and TH3 and TH2 are not fired yet. So without firing TH3 and TH2, it cannot conduct. It is blocking voltage. It is blocking some voltage that is positive, but that doesn't mean it will conduct. Let's go into more detail. So let me take one extra page so that you get it much better. So the point is that we are doing TH1, TH2. I am just for simplicity, I am just thinking that this voltage is actually negative. Let us give some number so that we understand. Let us give some number. So this number, let us say voltage is minus 50 volt. That means true polarity. This is not convention. This is voltage is 50 volt, minus 50 volt. And I said TH1 is conducting. TH1 and TH4 is conducting. TH4 is conducting. And I said that this current is continuous. So this current is continuous means, let us give some number. Let us say this current is 5 ampere. Let us say it is continuous all the time. Let us ignore the ripple. Let us ignore ripple. Assuming that inductor is too fat, too big, ignore ripple. So 5 ampere. It was earlier conducting with positive voltage input side, and since this doesn't observe, this TH1 and TH4 is not able to feel anything different whether this voltage is plus or minus. It is only seeing that this current is positive or not. The moment it is positive, its voltage is collapsed to 0. It is conducting means ideally 1 volt or 2 volt, but you can say that ideally this voltage is 0, this voltage is 0 because they are conducting. And once it is conducting, this thing must be understood about the thyristor. Once it is conducting, its voltage is 0, and only reason it can come out of conduction is first current. Let the current be made through it to be 0. Unless you make the current through it to be 0, it doesn't see what is the circuit voltage. Look, this fellow is not feeling any difference. This fellow is still 0. When this voltage was, let us say, plus 100 volt, whatever it was feeling, now it is feeling the same thing. It is seeing the same thing because it sees the current is 5 ampere. So at that time, also its voltage across TH1 and TH4 were 0 because it was conducting and 5 ampere. At this moment, when the voltage is negative 50 volt, this TH1, TH4 is still 0 volt and 5 ampere. It doesn't see any change in the circuit. It's simply that supply voltage is changing. And what is that? That's why it is passing the negative voltage to this fellow. Now this fellow voltage will be minus 50 volt. But minus 50 volt is not synonymous with current change, because you know the inductor store energy, the inductor current has to change. You know, instantaneously it cannot change. It only changes the slope, L di by dt. It doesn't change the I value instantaneously. So it may be going through a negative di by dt, this inductor current, the load side current ID or the DC side current, it may be going through a negative, but it has not yet become 0. And as long as it is not becoming 0, this thyristor 1 and thyristor 4 conducts. And look at this at that moment, what is the situation of thyristor 2 and thyristor 3? So what is the voltage across thyristor 2? Can anybody say what is the voltage across thyristor 2? What is the voltage? I give a polarity convention, plus minus. So what is the voltage convention of thyristor? What is the voltage across thyristor 2 under this situation? When thyristor 1 and 3 are conducting and the input voltage is minus 50 volt, as the polarity I have shown. So what is happening? Thyristor 1 is conducting, so it is short. So this terminal is short and this terminal is here. So what is the voltage? It is blocking a voltage of plus 50 volt. This is blocking a plus 50 volt. What about this thyristor, TH3? TH3, this point is negative and this TH2 is short, TH4 is short. So this is short. So this has come here, right? So this is plus terminal, this is plus terminal, this is minus. It is also blocking plus 50 volt. But it is blocking. How can it conduct without my permission? My permission is when I give firing angle. When I turn it on, I give a firing pulse. Without that firing pulse, this cannot turn on, right? And I have not yet released the firing pulse. You see that my firing pulse is released here at this instant. At this instant, the firing pulse of TH2 and TH3 are released, right? Look at that at that point. So what happens at that point? At that point, you already noticed that. You notice it. Here it is to be noticed. Very simply, but very clearly, unambiguously try to understand. First, we will see what is happening to thyristor 2. You have given a firing pulse at that instant, pi plus alpha. At that instant, you have turned on the thyristor. So, will it turn on? First question is, will it turn on? The question, to answer that question, we have to see just prior to the firing pulse, was the voltage across it to be positive? At that instant, voltage positive? Yes, it was positive because we have seen that its voltage was plus 50 volt. It was waiting to be turned on because this voltage is now plus 50. That means if we had turned on the thyristor at here, at this point, it would not have turned on. If we had tried to turn on TH2 and TH3 at this instant, it would not have turned on because that time the voltage across it was negative. So it was not forward biased. It was not blocking the forward voltage. It was not blocked, not said forward biased. It was not blocking forward voltage. The voltage across it was not positive. But the moment you turn on this, immediately this voltage collapses to 0. immediately this voltage collapses. This now becomes 0. This now becomes 0. Then will you say that there is a short circuit? No, there is not a short circuit. The moment this voltage, these two voltages become 0, these voltages become minus 50. Check that. Check that it voltage becomes minus 50. Suppose this has become 0 after turn on. After turn on, this is 0. So what is happening? This plus terminal is coming here now, and the minus terminal is here, and the plus terminal is 50. So this is the cathode. This is the cathode. This is the anode. So cathode is seeing plus 50. Anode is seeing reference. Overall, this is seeing a negative voltage. So this fellow is willing to turn off because it's happy. It has got the subsequent, the moment it has turned on, it has got a negative voltage. Just prior to that, the voltage across it was 0. But since TH2 and TH3 has turned on, TH1 and TH4 would feel that let me turn off. Then one constant is coming. Well, anybody is taking the current, or as long as nobody takes the burden of the current, load current, which this fellow was taking, burden of the load current in the on state, right? It was taking the burden. Is somebody is willing to take the burden from me? Thyristor 1 is thinking. It says yes, TH2 is now will be carrying the burden of the load current, because so all the conditions are satisfied. The condition for TH1 and TH3 to turn on, the condition for TH1 and TH4 to turn off, and it has happened naturally. It has happened naturally because the source voltage is helping. Unless the source voltage were going towards a negative voltage, you would not have been able to turn off TH1 and TH4 and bring in TH2 and TH3. Right? So this is what is known as source commutation. This is a commutation. Commutation means changing current from TH1, TH4 to TH2, TH3. This is the commutation. That means at the instant of pi plus alpha, this was carrying a current of ID. This was at that instant, this was carrying a current of 0. Just after that, you have to think that it is a like our network theory. You say no, 0 minus and 0 plus. That kind of instantaneous concept you bring in. It is this physics is happening almost in no time. This turning off of TH1 and TH4 and turning on of TH2 and TH3 are happening in no time. So this time, at the same instant, you may think that it is 0 minus, and another thing you may think as 0 plus. So this will become 0, and this side will become ID. This will conduct ID. Okay, and load is happy. Load doesn't feel anything different. Only thing it happens is the voltage is now rectified. Voltage is now flipped. The source voltage has now flipped and is appearing at the output. Hello, anybody has any doubt about this, or do you need me to define more clearly or more this thing?
So like then like TH1 and TH4 basically conducts due to the inductor. Like due to the inductor, the direction of ID is not changed and it continues to conduct, like even when VAC is negative, right? Like
yes. Due to the inductor current, TH1 and TH4 will be continuing to conduct because nobody is taking the burden from it. So it cannot yet relinquish its job. It cannot cannot withdraw from conducting, because who will take the burden of that energy? The inductor has energy. That energy itself has to be maintained continuous as a function of time. That cannot be discontinuous. So the currents may be discontinuous in TH1 and TH4, but only because TH2 and TH3 are conducting. So at any point of time, two devices will be conducting, and it is a 50% burden this guy, and the 50% burden another two switches. 50% of the time TH1 and TH4 is taking the burden, and the other time TH2. Nothing to do in the process. Don't give too much importance to that, whether the voltage at the load side is negative and the thyristor 1 and 4 are conducting, even if that instantaneous voltage is negative. No, that doesn't give too much. But obviously there is a limit. One may say, how much can we continue? Obviously there is a limit. We cannot continue for firing angle more than 90 degree and cannot expect the current to be continuous. We'll understand that. Why? We'll understand that is not possible. That is not possible. After all, it is continuous only because why the current is continuous. Take a look at it. That's why I'm saying thyristor converter understanding is the greatest understanding. What is the waveform? You can see that. You can see that the positive part of the area is more than the negative part. This area is more than the negative part. More than the negative part. So effectively the voltage at the DC side is something like this. The average voltage is something like this. This is the average voltage. You can call it V rect average. And that average voltage has to be positive. Has to be positive. Has to be, in this case, has to be this V rectified average has to be equal to VC plus I EDC ID into R. ID is again the average voltage. 1 by T by 2, 0 to T by 2, ID dt. That is the average. V rectified average is what? If I write capital V rect, which I mean 1 by T by 2, 0 to T by 2. T by 2 is the half period. So into.
Sir, why did we connected extra voltage source VC in the load side?
I didn't connect it deliberately. I represented a practical load situation. Practical load, as I was explaining, it may be a battery connected there. Battery you may need to charge. After all, where are you using the energy you are taking from the input source? You are energizing somewhere. You are not all the time dissipating in a resistance. You cannot think that way. We may be actually transferring the energy from the AC source to a battery. How the practical battery charges in your laptop computer, everywhere? How are they charging? They are charging like that. They are taking the energy from the source. So the battery is represented by a voltage source VC. In some cases, when DC machines are connected, then it will be representing the back EMF of the DC machine. Okay, so this is not I am doing it. I am giving a generic representation of the load circuit. It has a capacitor and it has a filtering inductor and it has an internal resistance R. This is a generic representation. Almost all loads will fall under this equivalent circuit. Almost all loads. That practically possible. So this is what I am trying to say, that the rectified voltage is averaging of this. So what is the averaging of V rect instantaneous dt? This is the average. T by 2 corresponds to the time period, that means pi omega into T by 2 is equal to pi. That is what the definition of T by 2 is. Because it is under continuous conduction, it is conducting for pi duration. This is what is happening, right? This is what is happening. So it has to actually match the in order to have a continuous conduction. This firing angle should actually satisfy this equation under steady state. This equation under steady state, it has to this thing. For example, if VC is equal to 120 volt and I need to develop a current ID is equal to 4 ampere. And the resistance is, let us say 1 ohm, right? So then I will have to have a voltage of V rect average is equal to 124 volt. Now I want to know what firing angle would give me this 124 volt. I can calculate that. How I can calculate that? Because I can integrate and find out what is the voltage that is appearing here. What is the voltage? Integrated VAC. I can integrate it. So I will integrate 1 by T by 2, 0 to T by 2, not 0 to T by 2, alpha to pi plus alpha, okay, by omega, just to make it time, okay, VAC dt. This is equal to this. Let me see here. let me see here. Yeah. Okay. So this average voltage also, let me write it. The average voltage is alpha alpha by omega to pi plus alpha by omega. Okay, that is the average voltage. And current also I should write, integrate it that way, integrate it that way. In current I could have integrated, because it is continuous, I could have integrated in 0 to pi way, but let me write it alpha to alpha by omega by plus pi plus alpha by omega. Let me this is the integration duration, right? This is the integration duration, right? This is the integration. Let me write it cleanly, little cleanly. So this is alpha by omega to pi plus alpha by omega. So if you integrate the voltage, then you get V rectified, right? Because the conduction of this thing is from alpha this time by this time, right? Okay. So let me now understand how much voltage is really available, because it is just integration of that is equal to V rect. That is the integration. So what is this? 1 by T by 2, and this is alpha by omega to pi plus alpha by omega. This is Vm sine omega t dt. Okay, this integration is equal to this. So let me write V rect is equal to this. So it is 2 by T alpha by omega by pi plus alpha by omega sine omega t cos of omega t by omega. Okay, this into alpha by omega by pi plus alpha by omega, right? So this is equal to 2 by 2 pi into 2 Vm into cos alpha. So 2 cancels, 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. So the rectified voltage that I get after integration, I can find out that is equal to 2 Vm by pi into cos alpha. This is CCM equation. Must understand that. I have assumed CCM. That's why the integration is happening between alpha by omega to pi plus alpha by omega. After that, it is symmetric. It is rectified waveform is symmetric. We have seen that after that it is a rectified waveform. It is symmetric. So this value is the average value. This value is V rect value, and the V rect value is given by this simple expression 2 Vm by pi into cos alpha. So in our case, what will be this 2, let us say 220 into root 2 by pi into cos alpha. We saw that we need a voltage of how much? Just example, 124 volt. So we need a voltage of 124 volt. 124 volt. So alpha is equal to how much? Let me calculate. Alpha cos alpha is equal to this. Ah, 51.24 degrees. So that means it has to be fired at that thing in order to maintain a current of 5 ampere at the load end. In order to maintain 4 ampere at the load end when the VC voltage is 120 volt. That is what it means. I need to fire at that thing. I can maintain this. So how the control is coming? Can you see how the control is coming? Suppose I need to maintain a current. I intend to change the current to 8 ampere. Why I am changing the current to 8 ampere? Let us say I have to and charge the capacitor, charge the source with 8 ampere. So that then the current requirement will be 8 ampere. Suppose it's a battery voltage of 120 volt. I have to do, initially I was charging at 4 ampere. Now somebody has said, well, now you charge at 8 ampere. So what I will do? I will now produce a Vrect is equal to 128 volts. That is what I will do, right? That is what. That means what you will do? I will change the corresponding firing angle alpha. This may be firing angle alpha 1. I will change the firing angle alpha 2, right? This is the way I can change. This can be also interpreted in terms of a torque control of a machine. You know, in a torque control of the machine, what is the torque control? Torque, how does it? What is the expression of torque in a DC machine? That is phi into I. That is the torque. Flux into current. Now, in this separately excited DC machine, let the flux be constant. The voltage in the flux coil, field coil, that has been constant. So the flux is constant. So the torque, for varying torque, what you are changing? You are basically changing the current. So in this case, if you change the current, you will get a higher torque, and the current can be changed by changing a firing angle alpha, so that you produce a voltage of 128 volt at the rectifier end. You can produce a voltage of 128 volt and change the current from 4 ampere to 8 ampere, doubling the torque of the machine, right? And this is what is known as armature control. This is what is known as armature. That means changing the armature voltage by means of a firing angle change is called armature control, so that you change the rectifier V-rectifier voltage, right? This is how the utility value of this AC to DC conversion is coming. So Sharadeep, any question? Did you understand the logic of firing angle control? Hello, or anybody, if you could not follow the argument, please tell me. Right. So you see that in this thing, inductor is not at all, doesn't matter in the average equation, because the average voltage across the inductor is 0. Inductor is only matters in the instantaneous equation. If you want to actually trace the current waveform, I have not traced the actual current waveform IDT yet. I have not traced it yet. I am just qualitatively saying that the current is continuous, and based on that I am doing averaging analysis, DC analysis, where I am equating the average voltage of the rectified output to the average voltage of the load, and the average voltage of the load is VC plus I into R, ID average into R. Okay, so the DC current ID average into R is equal to this. I have not sketched the actual ID current. That will be somewhat complicated. That will require instantaneous equation solution. That will be required. But we must understand this thing qualitatively. So you can clearly see one thing, quite a few things. You can see quite a few things that capability-wise, V-rectifier, capability-wise, it can be what kind of voltages it can produce. 2 Vm by pi is a constant. But when alpha is 0 degree, that is the maximum. Alpha is equal to 0. Magnitude-wise maximum. When alpha is equal to 90 degree, this voltage is 0. When alpha is equal to 90 degree. I am assuming all the time I am assuming current is continuous. I am all the time, even at 90 degree current is continuous, I am assuming. So when it says alpha is equal to 90 degree, it has to be 0 voltage, which means what? Which means that in the DC side, I cannot put VC. VC must be 0. VC must be 0. And the R must be 0. Otherwise, how will you match? The secondary side voltage, the DC side voltage is VC plus ID into R, right? That is the DC side, direct voltage. Direct voltage. This must be balanced, right? So how do you balance it? Because ID is not zero. ID is not zero because current has to be continuous for it to operate in CCM. This is still in CCM. This is still this is in CCM. This is still in CCM. So only way this is possible is if there is no resistance, R is equal to 0. Okay, or you say that I have put a negative voltage, or you say that it is VD, VC, ID into R. More generally, I should say that. More generally, I should say that VD into R is equal to VC. That means the DC voltage I am assuming present there, that may be negative. That may be negative. Well, for example, let us say R is equal to 1 ohm, ID is equal to 4 ohm. So what has to happen is VC has to be minus 4 volt. Then it is possible to match 0. Okay, the capacitor voltage has to be negative, which is possible, which is in a DC machine, it is possible. The speed going in the reverse direction, it may be possible. K phi n, if n is in the reverse direction, it is possible, right? But if you take the ordinary look of it, that DC is not negative, then only thing it is saying that the load is perfectly inductive. This is completely inductive load. Completely L load, because our VC is equal to 0, R is equal to 0, right? So somehow in the beginning the current has been developed. After that you are applying 0 voltage, so current is continuous, current is not changing. But instantaneous voltages may be different. So let me draw the thing one more time. So what we are saying is that this is the supply voltage and you have fired at this, alpha is equal to 90 degree. So your voltage that you are producing is this red part. Red part is the voltage you are producing. This is alpha is equal to 90 degree. This is pi plus alpha, pi plus 90 degree. So you see the average voltage wise it is 0. Average voltage wise it is 0 when purely inductive load, and this is 0. So which means that, but we will assume that since it is continuous, thyristor must understand that thyristor 1, thyristor 4 is conducting here. So which means that the current in the DC side is continuous. That means it has a current here. When it is positive, it is going to some ripple up and then some ripple down, and same some ripple up, some ripple down, some ripple up, some ripple down. So this is what is the ID, instantaneous. This is angle, some angle variable. So you can see that this would be VG. This is Vrect. The red one is Vrect. Again coming like that. This is what is Vrect. Vrect average is equal to 0. Current is there. This is what is alpha is equal to this. And then take another one. Alpha, why it cannot be negative? Can alpha be negative, not negative, more than 90 degree? Yes, alpha can be more than 90 degree. And you can also get alpha is equal to 180 degree. So what you see when V rect is equal to 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. When alpha is equal to 180 degree, then you get V rect is equal to minus 2 Vm by pi. That means a completely negative voltage. We will get all the. This is what is known as inversion. First mode was rectification, when alpha is varying between 0 to 90 degree, and when alpha is varying from this to 90 degree, it is a completely negative thing. So that portion is negative, is inversion. So it can operate in rectifier mode and an inverted mode, right? It just has to be matched with the load. It will produce a negative voltage. And why not negative voltage? We sometimes need negative voltage because it is a regenerative mode. It is called regenerative mode. Why regenerative mode? This time the power, normally rectification mode, power flows from AC to DC. In a regenerative mode, okay, rectifier mode is alpha is from 0 degree to 90 degree. That is the thing. And here it is regenerative mode, alpha is equal to 90 degree to 180 degree. In this zone, this power is flowing from DC to AC. This is average power. Instantaneous power may be sometimes DC to AC, sometimes AC to DC, but this is average power. Average power is flowing from DC to AC, and this is flowing from DC to AC, average power. So it is a versatile converter. It can take power in both the directions, but it cannot take current in both the directions. It can accept voltage in both the directions, but it cannot accept current in both the directions. That is what is the uniqueness of this rectifier. It can produce a negative voltage here, average negative voltage here, and the current is always in this direction. So power is negative. It is not both the things are flipping. Only one of them is speaking. When this is plus and this is minus and the current is this is a positive power. Convention of positive power is power flowing from AC to DC. That is positive power. Right? But when it is negative, power will flow from DC to AC. That is the concept of negative power. Negative power is called regenerative power. How is it negative? Just by firing angle alpha. By firing angle alpha, you can produce an average voltage that is minus here and plus here, average voltage polarity. Okay. So, so let me stop here. If you have questions, please keep it, and then in the Thursday's class we will be discussing. Wednesday is the class test. It will start from 8:15 to 9:45. More information will be posted to you. The channels, etc. Other things will be posted to you. It is a 90-minute test. 4 questions are there, and that's all I need to tell you. All numerical problems, no other type of thing. Thank you.
Sir,
yeah.
Solutions
required. I will try to give.
Yes, sir.
I will try to give. Okay. I'll try to give.